Coming up on today's episode of Airborne-Unlimited, Repo man comes for Iranian 747. Reliable Robotics still plugging away on certification. NetJets strikes deal with ASAP. Welcome to Airborne Unlimited. I'm your host, Holland Lee. Let's get into today's stories. Repo man comes for Iranian 747. A Boeing 747 once owned and operated by Iranian carrier Mahan Air has been handed over to the U.S. authorities after the country filed a complaint that the plane's sale to a Venezuelan cargo line violated sanctions. The aircraft was sold off from Mahan Air to Empresa de Transporte Aéreocargo del Sur S.A., a subsidiary of CONVIASA, a state-owned company in Venezuela. The U.S. alleged that the sale violated export control laws since Mahan was subject to a Department of Commerce temporary denial order, which prohibited them from, quote, engaging in any transactions involving any commodity exported from the U.S. that is subject to the Export Administration regulations, end quote. The aircraft had been detained by Argentine law enforcement when it landed there July 2022. The U.S. sprung on the chance, filing a civil forfeiture complaint. Logs aboard the 747 uncovered additional headaches for the Venezuelans, with evidence of further export control violations committed with flights between Venezuela, Iran, and Russia. The cherry on top to bolster their claim was the Iranian carrier's ties to hauling the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, a relationship that reinforced government claims to have the plane returned to the States. And coming up after the break, Collins Aerospace tests next-gen spacesuit.
For over 30 years, the massive Sport Plane Resource Guide has provided expert, credible information, evaluations, and critical analysis of all that the sport aviation world has to offer. The all-new digital Sport Plane Resource Guide is coming with extensive multimedia features that are constantly updated, an even more comprehensive online guide to all things sport aviation. Available soon. www.sportplane.com.
Coming to Sun and Fun's 50th fly-in celebration, Trace Atkins for an opening day concert.
Tug of war since I was a kid between Jesus and John.
Don't miss Trace Atkins with special guest Sarah Evans.
Ponytail girl grown up to be a woman, now she's gone in a blink of an eye.
Get your tickets now and be a part of the kickoff celebration for Sun and Fun's 50th fly-in. Go to flysnf.org.
Well, hello, fellow pilot. I'm Barry Canutula, the CEO of King Schools, and you're invited to join me, John and Martha, and everyone at King Schools as we celebrate 50 years of helping pilots like you achieve their aviation goals. Until February 15th, you can save up to $250 on select King Schools courses. Just go to kingschools.com/50 years for all the details. But hurry, these savings expire on February 15th.
Welcome back. Now let's take a trip around the patch for some shorter stories. Collins Aerospace tests next-gen spacesuit. The Artemis program seems to be taking forever and a day to bring out the next generation of EVA-worthy spacesuits for NASA. Collins Aerospace has successfully passed an important test on its way to becoming the face of the Artemis program after a microgravity mobility assessment. In an oscillating aircraft, a prototype suit was put through the paces in a series of mock-up tunnels, hatches, and airlocks, checking the range of motion, size, and bulk of the suit as astronauts crawl, float, and maneuver their way through the ecosystem of spaceborne equipment. Building up. Enstrom opens new repair station. Enstrom Helicopter Corporation is celebrating the opening of its brand new FAA-approved repair station, number EHCR228E. The state-of-the-art repair station operates within Enstrom's Menominee, Michigan factory. It will provide helicopter maintenance, damage repairs, upgrades, and component overhauls, all at the hands of Enstrom's premier repair experts. All Enstrom repair station processes are in full compliance with the latest FAA requirements. Enstrom is now seeking approval from the EASA and UK CAA to better service customers in those regions. Electra founder John Langford elected AIAA Honorary Fellow. Electra Aero has disclosed that the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics has honored Electra's founder and CEO, John S. Langford, by electing him as an honorary fellow, the AIAA's highest distinction. This recognition acknowledges Langford's exceptional contributions spanning the creation of 3 aerospace companies. The award cites, quote, for the creation of 3 pioneering and successful aerospace companies and leadership in robotic aircraft, sustainable aviation, STEM education, and national R&D policy, end quote. NBAA backing call to action on mental health issues in aviation. NBAA has welcomed the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee's call for decisive federal action to remove barriers that discourage pilots from reporting and seeking care for mental health issues. House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee leaders recently sent a bipartisan letter to the FAA from more than 40 members of Congress, encouraging the agency to update its mental health protocols to ensure pilots get mental health care in a timely manner. Well, that's it for today's trip around the patch. Let's get back to the rest of the news. Reliable Robotics still plugging away on certification. Reliable Robotics has hit another milestone on its way to FAA certification of its autopilot and navigation systems. The company established an agreement with the FAA on what testing and analysis is required to show that the, quote, highly automated systems satisfy FAA safety and performance requirements for operations, end quote, throughout national airspace. The systems provide, quote, continuous autopilot engagement throughout all phases of flight, including automatic taxi, takeoff, and landing, end quote, allowing a garden variety civil aircraft to be operated remotely or one day as Reliable Robotics plans autonomously. Chris Schulenberg, the certification program manager at Reliable Robotics, said that they are, quote, immensely pleased with the FAA and the positive working relationship we've established together. It is clear that we share the common goal of improving aircraft safety through automation, end quote. The firm saw its certification program accepted by the FAA in June last year, laying out a roadmap for certification along the lines of existing FAA regs and processes. Reliable says that its, quote, accurate, high-integrity navigation and continuous autopilot engagement systems, end quote, will go very far in reducing or even eliminating controlled flight into terrain and loss of control in flight accidents. And after these messages, NetJets strikes deal with NJASAP.
I grew up in an aviation family. My dad flew airplanes and flew air shows actually, so ever since I was 3 years old, the only thing I've ever wanted to do was be an air show pilot. It's cliche, but I get to live my dream every single day. I'm currently using the Heartold Talon, the new aerobatic propeller. It's increased the performance of the airplane. It's made the harmonics balance throughout the airplane so much better. By far the best aerobatic propeller that I've ever flown behind.
Welcome back. NetJets strikes deal with NJASAP. The NetJets Association of Shared Aircraft Pilots and NetJets Corporate reached an agreement in principle, which should set the table for a return to normality at the operator. The agreement in principle is being reviewed by the negotiating committee before their trip back to Columbus, Ohio. They plan to continue the process of transitioning the agreement into a tentative agreement. The relationship between pilots and the company has been pretty rocky in recent months, with allegations bouncing back and forth as both sides sought to gain the upper hand in the public eye. Of particular interest, the NetJets negotiations seem to have an outsized level of publicity compared to those happening over at legacy carriers. NJASAP even ran a brief ad campaign citing their corporate liege Warren Buffett stance on quality, sending a shot across the bow of NetJets management. It's hard to recall any of the recent airline negotiations getting so dramatic in recent memory. The NJASAP must feel pretty good about the tentative agreement to come, since prior statements had made it quite clear they wouldn't bring anything to membership that wouldn't have an overwhelming chance of a yes vote. And that's our show for today. You can catch episodes of Airborne on YouTube, Roku, or Fire TV. Just search for Aero-News or Airborne, and don't forget to follow us on social media. Thanks for watching!